The hospital looks different at night. During the day, it's all fluorescent lights and bustling efficiency. Doctors rushing between patients, visitors clutching wilting flowers, the antiseptic smell barely masking the underlying scent of sickness and fear. But at night, when the corridor's empty and the lights dim to a sickly glow, it transforms into something else entirely. I've been working the night shift in the radiology department for 6 months now. 6 months of quiet, lonely nights reviewing scans while the rest of the world sleeps. 6 months of walking these empty hallways, the squeaking of my shoes against the linoleum, the only sound breaking the silence. Until tonight. It started with a simple request. A nurse from the 4th floor called down. They needed an urgent CT scan for a patient experiencing sudden neurological symptoms. Routine, really. I've done hundreds of these. Bring them down to imaging, I said, already preparing the machine. We can't move her, the nurse replied, voice tight with an emotion I couldn't quite place. Doctor's orders. Can you bring a portable unit to room 418? Something about her tone made my skin prickle. Room 418. I'd never heard of it. The 4th floor housed geriatric care. Rooms 401 through 416. There's no room 418, I said, confused. A long pause. Then, yes, there is. West wing, past the fire doors. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Please hurry. Before I could question further, she hung up. I should have called my supervisor. Should have verified the request through proper channels. But it was 2 a.m., and Dr. Reeves was likely asleep in the on-call room. A patient needed help. So I did what any good radiologic technician would do. I loaded the portable CT onto the service elevator and headed for the 4th floor. The elevator doors opened to darkness. The hallway lights were dimmed for patient comfort, creating pools of dull yellow illumination every few meters. I wheeled the heavy machine forward, its wheels rumbling against the floor. The sound seemed obscenely loud in the quiet. The nurse's station sat empty, computer screens glowing blue in the dark. Strange. There should have been at least one person on duty. Hello, I called, my voice echoing slightly. No response. I continued down the hall, passing rooms with sleeping patients. 401, 402, 403. Each room door slightly ajar. The sound of breathing and occasional beeping from monitors, the only signs of life. At the end of the hallway stood the fire doors, their small reinforced windows showing only blackness beyond. A red exit sign buzzed overhead, casting the area in a bloody glow. I'd never had reason to go past these doors before. Pushing through, I found myself in a corridor that looked wrong. The walls were the same institutional beige as the rest of the hospital, but they seemed older somehow. The paint peeled in places, revealing layers beneath, dark green, then blue, then something that looked disturbingly like bare concrete. The lighting fixtures hung further apart here, leaving stretches of shadow between each pool of weak illumination. The air felt thick, heavy with the smell of damp and something else. Something sweet and rotting. Room 417 appeared on my right, its number plate tarnished and dull. The door was closed. No light spilled from beneath it. I continued forward, the wheels of the CT machine now moving with stuttering resistance, as if the floor itself had become uneven. And there it was, room 418. The door looked like all the others, and yet not. The wood seemed darker, the grain more pronounced. The number plate was polished to a shine that caught the dim light, the only thing in this corridor that seemed well-maintained. I stood before it, heart pounding in my chest. No sound came from within. No light showed beneath the door. I raised my hand to knock, then hesitated. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. Why had I never heard of this wing before? Why was no one at the nurse's station? Before my knuckles could touch the wood, the door swung inward on silent hinges. The darkness within was absolute. Not the darkness of a room at night, but something deeper, something solid. I fumbled for my phone, switching on its flashlight. The beam illuminated a hospital room unlike any I'd seen before. Old equipment, decades out of date, lined the walls. An iron-framed bed stood in the center, its sheets crisp and white and empty. No patient, no nurse, The walls were covered with papers, hundreds of them. X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, all showing the same thing. A human skull with something inside it that shouldn't be there. Something curled at the base of the brain stem, wrapped around the medulla oblongata like a parasite. I stepped forward, drawn by horrified fascination. Each image was labeled with a different patient name and date. The date stretched back years, decades, and then I saw it. A fresh skin pinned to the center of the wall. The patient name, my own. The date, tomorrow. The door slammed shut behind me. I whirled around, heart nearly exploding from my chest. Standing between me and the exit was a figure in a white coat. Not quite a doctor, not quite human. Its proportions were wrong. Limbs too long, neck bent at an impossible angle. The face hidden in shadow, despite my flashlight beam trained directly on it. "We've been waiting for you," it said, voice rasping like dry paper. "We've been watching you for some time now. Through the cameras, through the eyes of the others." A long-fingered hand gestured to the wall of scans. They all came willingly, just like you. My back pressed against the cold wall. "What do you want?" "To expand our understanding." It took a step forward, movements fluid, yet somehow disjointed. Human neurology is fascinating, especially when altered. Altered? The headaches began 3 weeks ago, didn't they? It asked. The moments of lost time, the strange dreams. Ice flooded my veins. How could it know? I hadn't told anyone about the symptoms. Had convinced myself they were just stress, overwork. "That's us," it continued, now close enough that I could smell its breath, antiseptic and rot. "Growing, learning, using your neural pathways to understand. Each subject teaches us something new." I lunged for the door, fingers scrambling for the handle. It wasn't there, just smooth wall where the exit had been. "It's already too late," the thing said, almost gently. "It has been since the moment you received our call. No one comes to the forgotten corridor unless they've been chosen, unless they're already part of the study." My flashlight flickered, dimmed. "Don't worry," it whispered as darkness closed in. "You won't remember this conversation tomorrow. You'll wake up in your apartment, come to work, and notice nothing unusual except perhaps a slight headache. But we'll be there, watching through your eyes, learning through your brain." The light died completely, and in a few weeks, when the changes become too significant to ignore, you'll find yourself drawn back here, to room 418, to contribute your scans to our collection. In the perfect darkness, I felt something cold and sharp press against the base of my skull. But for now, we need to complete your baseline assessment. The last thing I remember is the sound of mechanical whirring, like a CT machine powering up, and the terrible certainty that I was never going to leave room 418. Not really. Not completely. They say the hospital looks different at night. They have no idea how right they are. I jolt awake in my bed, sheets tangled around my legs, alarm blaring on the nightstand. 5:30 a.m. Time to get ready for my shift at the hospital. My head throbs with a dull ache as I shower and dress. Probably just dehydration. I've been forgetting to drink enough water lately. As I drive to work, fragments of a nightmare tease the edges of my memory. Something about a hospital corridor, a dark room, a wall of scans. But the details slip away like water through cupped hands. Probably just job stress. Nothing to worry about. But as I badge into the hospital and head toward the radiology department, I find myself glancing toward the service elevator. For a moment, just a moment, I consider pressing the button for the 4th floor. Just to check. Just to make sure room 418 doesn't exist. The thought fades as quickly as it comes, replaced by the day's schedule and tasks. Still, there's a weight in my stomach, a sense of wrongness I can't shake. And when I catch my reflection in the elevator's polished doors, I could swear that, for a split second, my eyes aren't quite my own.